Welcome to You, Me, Empathy, a safe place for leading with your heart. Hey, thanks for being here. You, Me, Empathy is the official podcast of the Feely Human Collective, a collaborative mental health community designed to empower each of us to grow our capacity for empathy, vulnerability, and emotional wayfinding. Just a friendly reminder that this podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes only and is not a substitute for medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. No one is just a silly boy with a feely heart. You can support the show by leaving a review in Apple Podcasts, following us on social media at Yumi Empathy and Feely Human, and joining the Feely Human Collective community at feelyhuman.co. And now your host, Known Wells.
Hello, Feely Humans. Welcome to another episode of You, Me, Empathy. My name is Known Wells. This is episode 175 with my guest, Jessica Murnane. Jessica is the author of the new book, out tomorrow, if you're listening to this on Monday, out April 27th. And the book is called Know Your Endo. It's all about endometriosis. It's part field guide, it's part memoir, and it's a true act of empathy. I read the book. It's beautiful. It's wonderful. I highly encourage you read it. Even if you don't have endometriosis, you probably know someone who does, and learning about the pain and struggles of others is an act of empathy. It'll help you gain new perspectives and learn and grow, and it's wonderful. So the links to Know Your Endo are in the show notes for this episode at feelyhuman.co. It's always at feelyhuman.co. It's wonderful. And in this podcast episode, Jessica and I talk about, we go deep on endo. We talk about symptoms and nutrition. We talk about medical gaslighting and being your own best advocate. We also talk about Jessica's endo origin story, knowing when to help versus not when to help, or when not to help, rather, believing women, and of course, Jessica's new book, Know Your Endo. We also talk about potatoes and Hulu and dealing with unsupportive partners and how to feel more empowered in your health and the last best meal Jessica's had and libraries and buying all the books and so many other things. I loved this chat. Jessica and I actually talked for another, close to an hour after even this 90-minute chat. So, new Feely Human buddy I'm grateful to know in Jessica Murnane. And I think you'll enjoy this conversation. I hope you do. I hope you love it as much as I did. Before we get to the episode, though, I wanted to remind you that on May 20th, next month, we have a new workshop. A new Feely Human workshop is coming to you, led by author and teacher Janet Reich-Elsbach. Janet is a previous guest on this show. And this workshop is called Treasures and Talismans. It's on May 20th at 11 a.m. Pacific time. It's a 3-hour workshop where we'll explore the meaning and message and the keepsakes we value. We'll invite these mementos to shine like mirrors and offer back self-love in surprising ways. I am very excited about this new workshop coming to Feely Human, and I hope you are too. The link to it is in the show notes, but you can also check it out at feelyhuman.co. and go to the workshops tab in the main menu there in the main navigation. Check it out. It's called Treasures and Talismans. It's open for registration now. I also wanted to just say thank you for all of the wonderful love and support and empathy shared to me. After sharing that I just last week I lost my best friend Scooby, and it was very difficult and feeling lots of big heavy grief feelings, and I think I will always feel those, though the goal or the hope is that they feel a little less heavy over time. But he was my best friend, and I just so appreciate all of the love sent my way. Thank you very much. And if you want to read a little bit about the experience leading up until that point, you can go to the journal on the Feely Human website, feelyhuman.co/stories, and you can find it. It's called Grief, Acceptance, and Letting Go of a Dog Named Scooby. And if you ever want to hear more about Scooby and the type of dog he was, I would love to share that with you. Okay, and last things is You Me Empathy is on Patreon, patreon.com/feelyhuman. If you want bonus episodes every month, we also do monthly Zoom chats on topics. This month we are chatting about, what are we chatting about? We're chatting about getting back to normal and what that looks like. And if you want to support me there, it's patreon.com/feelyhuman. And the last place you can support me, and the last thing you can do is please subscribe. Please rate and review this podcast in Apple Podcasts. It really, truly does help out the show. I know I say it. I know I feel like I'm a broken record. And if you haven't left a review, please do. Truly, it does help out the show. Thank you very much for doing that. And thank you for listening and for being a feely human and for feeling your feelings and being curious and for allowing for space to be curious and meeting people where they are and showing up in the world so beautifully in the way that you do. Thank you. And I hope you enjoy this episode 175 with Jessica Murnane on her book and Endo and so many other things. Enjoy. Welcome to You, Me, Empathy, the official podcast of the Feely Human Collective. On this show, we explore the struggles, the triumphs, the brights and the darks we face as humans trying to get by on this wondrous and overwhelming pale blue dot. The intent of You, Me, Empathy is to talk openly, without judgment, about our mental health, our neuroses, our shared anxieties and worries, to create a dialogue that is vulnerable and deeply human and empathetic, and to share that dialogue with others to inspire emotional and cognitive collaboration and insight so we can, hand in hand, break down the stigma that make us feel shame and guilt for struggling, for feeling our feelings, for being feely humans. You, Me, Empathy is a safe, friendly space designed to inspire the beauty in each of us. Today, I am a grateful friendo who's read the essential act of empathy that is known as Know Your Endo, and I'm here with women's health advocate, speaker, creative consultant, and author of the aforementioned book, Know Your Endo. It's Jessica Murnane. Hello, Jessica.
Hi. I feel like I'm going to cry on this podcast.
I
already started crying in your intro.
Crying is okay and lovely and beautiful, and I see you, friendo.
Thank you. And I also wanted, can I tell your audience something?
Please.
You already made me cry already because I don't read my book reviews, but you wrote my first book review and you posted it, and that's how I saw it. And it meant so much to me. I cried for like an hour. So thank you so much for writing the first book review of my book by someone that doesn't even have Endo. It just meant the world to me. So thank you so much.
Well, you're very welcome. And I'm going to pause here for a second. Do you think you can, I think you're coming in a little hot on my side.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
You can turn down your gain just a touch.
Yeah.
I think that should be fine.
How does that sound? Is that better?
Yeah, that's great.
Okay, sorry. Yeah.
No worries. Well, first of all, thank you for saying that. And I love that I'm in, like, I feel so lucky in so many ways. First to like, have the voice and to be able to do the podcast and all that. But like, and then, people who write amazing books and want to send me those books for free. And I'm a book nerd. And so and also I think that, we need to read all the things, because reading all the things allows us into the worlds of people that we maybe not meet, maybe not might meet in life, or maybe we don't know their perspective or whatever it may be. And so it was a beautiful book. I'm excited to talk about it. I'm excited you wrote it. I'm grateful that there are communities out there that are finding safe spaces for healing and empathy. And because it's scary out there, we're all insecure, we all struggle, and when we can find pockets of safety, it's a wonderful thing.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah. So, Jessica, we always kick off the show with an emotional check-in. How are you feeling, friend?
Well, I think I was just telling you before we started recording that I was sitting down and writing thank you notes, and I'm getting a jump on them because you're going to be getting one, by the way. When you put a book out, there's so many people that help you with the book. I mean, you record the audiobook. There's someone that helps you with that. You have an editor. You have friends that contribute. I had a friend that made cool bookmarks to go with the book. So instead of feeling that overwhelm of it being 6 months later, I'm like, I haven't written my thank you notes yet. I got started on doing them today. And it feels good to sit down and write them. But then also I was telling you, it feels like I should be checking email. I should be doing an Instagram post. I should be doing this instead. I'm like, no, this is still work that's important. But I don't think we allow ourselves sometimes to just kind of sit and do a project like that.
Mm. Yeah, kudos to you for getting a head start. That's a difficult thing to do. I think it's probably notorious in the world of writing thank you cards specifically.
Yes.
And the second piece of that is very interesting to me, which is like this idea. On one hand, yes, we've got all the things on our brain we want to do, right? And we want to check Instagram, we want to do the thing, etc. And then when it comes to writing thank you notes specifically, because I empathize with this. I send each guest of my show a handwritten note, card, and some stickers. And I love doing it, but even though I love doing it, and this is where both truths can exist simultaneously, even though I love doing it and it's a beautiful thing, I'm also, it's like an activity that's maybe it's because it's like paper and pen. It's like this old thing, and it's an activity that I'm still in the back of my mind sort of distracted.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you really have to, because when I sat down to start writing them, I was like, oh, I'll put on a podcast in the back. No, like I really needed to just focus and zone out. And it's funny because I actually, back in the day, I actually owned a stationery store and owned a stationery company. So paper, I feel like, is just in my soul. But I don't know, in the past couple of years, I've gotten more away from it. I mean, I think we all know why. It's because everything is digital, but you know, it's a list of about 100 people, and I'm knocking through them. But it is, I know what you mean, because then you're also like, do I have stamps? Do I have to go to the post office? This is a thing. Mm-hmm. It's not as easy. But I think that I also think about, man, when this person receives this, they're going to feel so happy.
I always do. It's such a, like, whenever I get snail mail, it's a joyous day. And it's especially like, I don't know, maybe romantic, because I live in a pocket where like the postal service does not deliver to our house directly. So we have a PO box. And so you make the trip. You're like, I'm making the outing, I'm going on an adventure to the post office. Let's see what's in the box. And it's always a kind of an exciting thing. Mostly it's, junk mail. But when I get a letter, it's good. It's a good day.
Yeah. Well, you have one coming, so mark it on the calendar at some point.
Well, likewise, you have one coming as well, right back at you. So, what's interesting about like let's just like, I have a tangent in my head, like the writing of the thank you notes, the paper and pen, you're putting out a book, and that's a physical thing. Like that's a medium that still exists, though. I wonder, like, did any of those kind of thoughts go into it, thinking of like, I mean, obviously it's wonderful to put out a book, but there's this printing paper and that whole sort of side of it is like, I don't know, maybe this is a weird tangent, but I think about the publishing industry though. It's taken hits, because of all like the digital world we live in the past, the past decade or so.
Yeah, I mean, when I had to send you the digital galley of my book, it felt icky to me. Like I wanted to send you an actual book because I personally, I interview a lot of authors on my podcast, and when they say we're not sending out paper galleys or the books aren't going to be finished before the interview, I'm like, oh, I don't want to read this thing on a iPad. So
yeah,
I love books so much. And I mean, I think like libraries are one of the most beautiful, most just magical places in the world to me. So,
yep.
Aside from the topic I got to write, it just feels like the greatest gift in the world to get to write a book.
Yeah.
Does that answer your question? I'm okay with it. I love paper, all forms.
I love it. And I am in the same boat. Books mean a great deal to me. My partner and I had a book themed wedding, for goodness sake. Like
oh my
books,
gosh.
Books mean the world to me. And so I'm like you. I sort of prefer a physical holding of the copy. And I'd imagine like, a pandemic sort of played a role possibly in the not spending of galleys.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I used to get, just without asking me, publishers would send me, I would get 5 or 6 galleys a week sometimes.
Sure.
And I mean, I gave a lot of them away to friends that were interested in the topic. But yeah, I mean, I haven't been getting books really at all during the pandemic. So it's definitely really changed the publishing world a lot. But then I also think, like I said, I love libraries so much, but with COVID, I haven't really felt comfy getting my books from the library. So I've actually bought so many books during the pandemic, which is rare for me. So, I mean, I think there might be a balance there too, because people aren't going to libraries that usually do.
Yeah, there you go. I like that. So, we haven't we haven't done a deep dive on endometriosis on this show, aside from like talking about it a little bit with Laura Parker back in episode 99 of this show. We talked about it a bit, but I'd like to just kind of give a sort of a basic, and I know this is what your book's about, but like a little basic like Endo 101, what is it? And then sort of dive into your experience a bit.
Sure. So I love this question. And like you said, we don't have to go too deep into it, but I love sharing the symptoms of it because I think there's so many people that are in the dark about the symptoms. So endometriosis is an inflammatory condition where the type of lining, it's not the lining, but the type of lining that lines your uterus grows onto the outside of your uterus. It can grow onto different organs. Some people in complex cases have it grow onto their lungs. The symptoms of endometriosis are painful periods, which not all people with endo have painful periods, but that is a symptom. Fatigue, painful sex, painful bowel movements and urination, urinary urgency, retention, frequency, GI issues. It's reported that 90% of people with endo have GI issues, which is just huge. So there's a whole host of other symptoms that you wouldn't think would be connected to a period. And I think that's where a lot of people, I mean, there's a lot of reasons why I think there's a slow rate of diagnosis, but I think that plays a big role into it because if you have, a lot of GI issues, you're not going to your OBGYN and complaining about that. You're trying to go to a GI specialist. So there's a lot of, it breaks my heart, but I think so many people with endo blame themselves for some of the symptoms. For instance, fatigue, like I said, like there's so many people that don't know that endo is a symptom of fatigue. And then they realize it and they're like, oh my gosh, I thought I was just lazy. It's just heartbreaking. So I love sharing the symptoms because I think I think with endo, you start to see yourself in a certain way. And a lot of times you just blame it on yourself. But when you can say, oh, wow, that's actually a symptom of something that I have and I'm not lazy, I'm not gross, I'm not whatever, I think it can really help just how you see yourself too.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, knowledge is power, and naming our thing is power. But like, as you know, pointed out in your book and have talked about quite a bit, like the lens through which we get there as humans, or as humans who have endo, you know, you're unpacking misogyny, you're unpacking the medical establishment that, you know, doesn't believe women, you know, you're unpacking self-esteem, you're unpacking, like, I know for me, like, I have clinical depression, and it took a long time for me to really talk about it, because you know, there's a stigma around being, you know, quote unquote weak or whatever, or I have GI issues. That's gross. Who wants to talk about that?
Right.
So like,
Right.
you know, as you've talked about, like, there's a lot of suffering in silence, and this is devastating.
Yeah. And I mean, as much as you don't want to talk about your GI issues, I mean, think about how gross it is when someone brings up a period and someone's like, "Oh," I don't understand why grown people are
Yes.
still grossed out. I'm like, I feel like my dad has come around. Now, when I mention the word period, he's like, nah, he's just kind of, okay, what do you have to say about it? Because I think at this point, I'm like, Dad, you cannot act that way when I say the word period. You're a grown up. So yeah, I mean, it's not something that people want to hear about. And I think it's so surprising to me how many partners, family members, friends don't want to hear about it. And I think that's one of the parts that creates such mental health issues for people with endo, is that they feel alone.
Yeah. Yeah. Why do you think we don't want to hear about it? Because I'm with you. Like, you know, give me all your period talk 24/7.
Mm-hmm.
That's fine with
Right.
me, because I'm a grown ass adult and I can listen and understand that we're all humans. We all die. We all poop. You know, some of us
Right.
have periods. These are normal human things, but there is this, you know, discomfort with it. What do you think it amounts to that?
Well, I mean, I think for a very long time, we've been taught to be weird about it. I mean, you weren't even allowed to show tampons or pads on TV up until recently. I mean,
That's
even a
bonkers.
couple years ago, there was an ad that had a tampon string in the ad, and it had to be taken off TV. So, I mean, I think that we've been told that it's gross and that's something that we shouldn't talk about. So, I mean, why would we not if we've been all told that?
Yeah.
It's the same way that we're supposed to be scared of boogeymen. You know, it's because we've been told that. So I think that for a long time, I think we've been told that. And then I think it just kind of gets passed down generationally. I mean, I know in our house, my son is 6 years old. He knows what a period is. He even I made a joke about a pad the other day, and I meant the iPad. He was like, "Oh my gosh, I thought you were talking about your period." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, you know what a period is, and you're 6 and you're making pad jokes." So I mean, I think for him, it's not gross or weird. I mean, and yes, blood is not always something like, if you come in with a gash on your body, I'm not going to be like, "Wow, blood." But I think we can at least have compassion, because no one's showing you their period blood.
Yeah.
You don't talk about it.
Right. And I think it's, you know, it, like a lot of things, I think it's just another systemic thing. You know, we like men feeling like they can't feel their feelings, or having to be these beacons of strength or whatever, right? It's just another lie that we're told, and it's built up in media. It's told to us by our parents. It's shown, you know, in our communities through so many different lenses. And I think ultimately what it comes down to is critical thinking, being curious, you know, having a great deal of more compassion and empathy for people, and listening a lot.
Yeah.
A lot
And
of us
I
don't.
also think it's about meeting your people where they are, or there's those really famous pictures of, and I don't know her name, but there's a very famous image of a marathon runner with period blood streaming down her leg. And that
Yep.
was a very powerful image for her. I don't know that I would do that, but that's my comfort level. So I think sometimes people, they think, well, if I'm an advocate for this, then I have to be this way. It's like, you
Mm,
can be whatever way you want to be about it.
yeah.
You can talk about periods without going, padless and having blood run down your leg.
Yeah. Yeah. That's another issue with our society, which is we sort of valorize people. Oh, you're the endo person. You're going to be all
Right.
things endo. You're going to have to do it in all of these ways that we align to and that we like, and it's just unfair.
Yeah, I try to, and I hope that came across in the book. I mean, I just try to meet people where they are, because I think everybody has a very different comfort level with this topic, and that might change over time.
Yeah. Well, and that's the tricky thing, right? In any sort of self-care or wellness or whatever, there's a great deal of binary. There's a
Mhm.
great deal of this is the way. And I think you did beautifully in Know Your Endo in terms of sharing your knowledge, sharing your facts, sharing a bit of your experience, and saying, this is my experience. It may not be yours. And I think we need to work on that as a people, is allowing for the nuance and allowing for the unique experiences that we all have.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting, especially when you write a health book, and because endo can be, I mean, the same way that your GI issues can be very different than my GI issues.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think I wrote in the book 100 times, but this might be different for you, because I just, I think also with social media and everything is so, like you said, like it's either this way or that way. And it can be very confusing if, let's say, you see online that this is the endo diet. It's like, well,
Yeah.
what if that diet doesn't work for you? Are you bad then? Have you failed? We really need to open it up more for different experiences.
Yes. Yes, indeed. So I'm curious. I mean, you did talk a bit about it, and I'm sure you've talked about it endlessly. But for the listeners, could
Mhm.
you talk a little bit about your endo origin story, for lack of a better term?
Yeah, it's so funny, because maybe it's not funny. It's whatever the word for it is. I always feel like I don't know if people are interested in, and then I had this surgery, and then I had a cyst burst, and then I had this happen, because for me, feel like my endo, quote unquote, journey, if you will, truly started after I started learning how to manage it, because
Mm-hmm.
before that, it was just hell on earth.
Yeah.
And it was debilitating. I was in a very, as you read in the book, it was a strange feeling of not necessarily wanting to die, but also not wanting to be alive.
Yeah.
And so I think, I was diagnosed when I was around 28, after debilitating years. After my diagnosis, it didn't get better for me. I actually think it got worse, because I went on some medications that didn't make me feel well. And truly, I was faced with getting a hysterectomy or going on more medications, and I wanted to get the hysterectomy. And back then I also didn't know that getting a hysterectomy didn't mean that your endo would go away or not be in pain, because if you don't have a proper surgery done with your hysterectomy, that it doesn't matter. So an angel friend of mine intervened, named Amanda, that sent me an email with just a link that shared about how diet and low inflammatory foods could help endo. And this is 10 years ago. So there was not a podcast like yours having some woman on it talking about endo. There wasn't a lot of information out there for me to find.
Mm-hmm.
So this was, I thought she was out of her mind to suggest this because I thought it was almost rude.
Yeah.
Because like if this could help me, why had no other doctor told me about this? But I tried it and it just changed my whole life. And, I like to be very clear. That's not some sort of, medical medium thing where I drank celery juice and my endo went away. This is just, it helped me get out of bed. The lower inflammatory foods helped me get out of bed, which helped me be able to move my body again, which then gave me better mental health. It was just this huge domino effect of entering all of these tools into my life. And, it's something I'm very open about, but even with these tools, I mean, I still have endo. 2 years ago, I had a giant ovarian cyst. So nothing that I do is going to stop my endo from growing, but I am now in a place where I can manage it and I'm not debilitated in bed every day. And that's just the hugest win for me.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. I am so grateful that you have found some things that ease your pain and make it a little bit more manageable and a self-aware experience. I think when we're in, I mean, I can speak for me when I'm in, before I was diagnosed with depression, there was a great deal of suffering, right? It was a great deal of suffering. And my friend Danae talks a lot about this stuff in the context of the hero's journey. Mm-hmm. So there's like the first part, which is like the suffering. And then you get to a point, and this is kind of where the journey starts. You get to a point where you're like, I'm fucking sick of this suffering and I'm going to do the seeking now. And the seeking is very uncomfortable. It's very exhausting, but it's where we find maybe answers. It's where we find some solutions, or it's where we start being a little bit more curious and we start being a little bit more self-aware and really at least for me, like starting to value myself for the first time in my life.
Yeah. And I also think what you said about finding the answers and being uncomfortable. I mean, I did not like the answers that my body was giving me when it told me that my body didn't really do well with cheese and sugar.
Well, how could
that
you?
Felt like an insult.
Yeah. I mean, cheese is from on high. Like, how could we not put it in our bodies?
So, I mean, it really was, and I know that people are like, oh my gosh, there's more horrible things going on in the world. But when you take away food or foods that you love or foods that you use as celebration with friends and family, and going out to dinner becomes this thing where you don't even know what to eat. It was very difficult for me at first to change my habits and lifestyle. And I mean, I cried about it for at least a couple of months. I was very upset that I felt like my endo was taking something else away from me. But then when you start feeling a little bit better and then a little bit better, and then you're having, as I say in the book, a lot more good days than bad. Yeah. Like, oh, well, I need to find some alternatives to these things that I like and be happy that something is working.
Yeah. Yeah. And I will just give you this, like, it's very untethering and unanchoring when we, are going about our lives and then there's a U-turn of sorts, which is, oh, you can't eat this now, or it's hard, and it can be hard, and there can be other hard things in the world simultaneously. So like, it doesn't take away from your experience of it being difficult.
Thank you. And I think too, when you are in that, and so much of changing your lifestyle, whether it's movement or food or stress management, it's when people say, well, you can't eat that. It's like, well, I could, but I'm choosing not to. And I think that's the thing that sometimes people don't understand. And I say this in the book. It's like, I'm not looking for a standing ovation because I'm eating healthy. I'm eating this way so I'm not in bed in pain.
Yeah.
So it's strange to me. I mean, not strange because I understand where people friends and families members are judging or questioning. But I think that a lot of that judgment and questioning can get into someone's head who's trying to make the change and think, well, is this worth it? And it's really, I get so many messages from people that their partners are not supportive of the changes that they're making. And it just hurts my heart so much. I'm like, but you're doing this to feel better, to potentially spend more time with them. Like, this is about you feeling good.
Yeah.
And I think that reaction, sometimes I don't know if it's jealousy or if it's afraid that they'll become better than them, or it's something that they want to do that they couldn't. But if anyone's listening that, I mean, I'm sure everyone that listens to your podcast is very supportive, but I think giving people that support and not questioning what they're doing is really helpful.
Yeah, I'm surprised. I mean, I guess I'm a little surprised, maybe a little not surprised that discord maybe exists within partnerships or relationships. But yeah, I'll just say that to maybe empathize on both sides, like it is hard sometimes when, here's an example. So it's maybe not perfect example, but I've been married for over 10 years to my partner, Jessica, and she, when I started really kind of doing the work that I've been doing, going to therapy and doing the podcast and starting Feel Human and really kind of like digging into this stuff, I've changed a lot. I've changed a lot since the first time I met her, and there have been some moments where it's been hard for her. And not that she's not celebrating my healing and my, childhood trauma healing and discovery and all that stuff. She does. And at the same time, it's change, right? It's, okay, what does this mean now? I mean, she knows I still love her. We still love each other, right? But it's change, and humans are, I don't know if it's biological, but like reluctant and uncomfortable with change.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think especially when that comes to traditions of holidays, like we have this lasagna every single Christmas. This is what we have. And all of a sudden, well, I can't eat that. It's like, well, and then, it just, so I think, I think a lot of the changes that I've made, I really tried to, and I also don't think it's always the responsibility of the person making the change to make everyone else feel comfortable. But I did try to do my best. Like with the lasagna example, I figured out how to make an amazing plant-based lasagna that I could bring and share. So then the host wasn't feeling weird about it and other people could enjoy my change with me. I think sometimes when we can include people in that change without making it such an announcement, like, I mean, I think the worst is when someone comes over, it's like, here's a vegan lasagna. It's like, we don't need to know it's all these things, like just serve good food.
There you go.
So I think sometimes when we can kind of include people in the change in a very gentle way, I think it can help them too.
Yes. Speaking of Lasagna Gate,
Yeah.
that came from a real experience you had, right?
Well, not
similar.
Well, yes, definitely similar. And I've heard that I bring up the lasagna because my lasagna from my cookbook has been a nice bridge for some families. Like I received this message once from someone and she said, "My Italian mother-in-law complimented me on your lasagna. Thank you so much." So I think it's been a nice bridge, and that's why I bring up the lasagna.
This is the number one lasagna show. You should know. It makes me think about just like I think you're right. I don't think it's on us to have to like make everyone comfortable with our change. I don't think that's maybe the right thing to do. But I think there maybe could be a little bit of just vulnerability or openness around like, hey, you know what? I recently have been making some changes in my diet because of this, whatever, right?
Mhm.
And then it's the responsibility of the person who is listening to A, believe that person, and B, trust that they know what's best for them.
Mhm.
And that's hard.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, listen, if my husband came to me tonight and he said, I no longer ever want to eat potatoes again with you and watch Hulu, I, I
First of
would
all, what
have
a monster.
I would have some huge problems with that. Potatoes and Hulu are two of my most favorite things on the earth. So, I mean, yes, I would have a problem with that. But I guess if he approached it in a way that says, potatoes and Hulu are not making me feel so great lately, like, okay, well, let's try a different food and maybe we could play a board game. I mean, I think, yeah, but I mean, you're right. I mean, I think if we can kind of explain a little bit why it's so important to us, it can help too.
Yeah.
And then I also think, which I talked about in the book, there are just some people that are not going to come around. And I think that sometimes we do have to reevaluate our relationships. I gave an example in the book of this woman, Irene, whose boyfriend criticized the clothes that she was wearing. And she wore these clothes because it's called an endo belly, but her tummy was so inflamed that she had to wear these big dresses, and he criticized them, and he criticized all of her choices. And she thought it was her. And she said that she started to make herself small. And she said when she broke up with him, she was like, it wasn't the endo. He was just an asshole.
Yeah.
So I think sometimes, we can try, but if we try so hard and it's actually damaging how we feel about ourselves, I also think we can reevaluate those relationships too.
Yeah. Did, in your sort of early endo journey, did you have any moments like that with people where they weren't maybe seeing you or accepting your new reality?
Yeah, I mean, I think there were a couple people. I thankfully have a partner in my life that ate healthy since he was born. So I was the one that was catching up to him eating healthy and eating vegetables and things. So in that partnership, it was great. But I mean, I definitely think I had some friends who were kind of like, huh? Like, I mean, I've shared this before, but I mean, I had not seen someone in maybe 5 or 6 years, and they're like, "Oh, what are you working on?" I'm like, "I'm working on a cookbook." And they're like, "You don't even cook." And I'm like, "Well, I taught myself." And it's a plant-based cookbook. They're like, "Wait, what?" So, I mean, I definitely think that I think that in my life I've always tried new things, and I think people knew that about me, but I definitely think the food component was the thing that people struggled with the most.
Interesting.
Because again, it's like, well, am I having to go to like some vegan restaurant now, or am I have
Sure.
to? But very quickly, like I said, like I made it a point to choose the restaurant where I knew I could get something to eat that wasn't necessarily a restaurant that was, just accommodated me,
Right.
just to kind of make a bridge. And then I think when my friends started to see just how different I became, everyone gets on board when they see how happy you are. Or at least I hope that is the case for other people.
I hope that's the case. And I just want people to grow their capacity for being and seeing people in all of their feelings, even in the uncomfortable ones. And I think that's like sometimes I think about mental illness or physical health issues like endo and things like that. And I think the reason why there's a lot of discomfort is because I mean, we talked about it at the top. We're just not talking about it. We're not talking about it. And
Yeah, and like
yeah,
that's the thing when you say, and I think you were talking specifically about the changes I was making, but prior to that, I never talked about my endo with anyone.
mm,
And previously, prior to getting diagnosed, like I didn't share that I was in debilitating pain. I hid that. I hid that from everyone. And I didn't hide it because I was embarrassed. I hid it because I did not want to be seen as weak.
Mm.
And, as soon as some cramps hit, it's like, I'm going to go work from home, or I've got another appointment. And I got so good at hiding it. And, my friend Amanda, who I mentioned as my angel that intervened, that sent me that link. She didn't know how bad it was until she actually stayed with me for a week and actually saw I had to catch myself on a table because I was in so much pain. So I think a lot of times it's not even out of embarrassment that we don't share. We don't want to be complainers, and we also don't want to be seen as weak.
Mm. Yeah, it's kind of a weird perversion of survival that we do. Mm-hmm. Do you like, in your present state now, like look back mm-hmm. at that, that young woman and I don't know, how do you see that young woman? You being this person who's hiding your pain from everyone.
I kind of see her as the type A person that I am now. I'm just kind of like, let's push through, let's get it done. This is definitely something I talk about in therapy, is that sometimes I just push through too much mm-hmm. and don't give myself enough leeway to just, as people probably don't know, I missed our first podcast because I messed up the time. And I literally was almost crying about it and how could I miss the time? So I think that as a perfectionist that I am, to sometimes a fault, I feel a lot of empathy for that old me, but I also don't know if I would have done it any different.
Interesting. Yeah.
But in doctors' offices, mm-hmm. that's a different story.
How do you mean?
Now that I know what I know about endo and how to care for myself, I would have been much more vocal and empowered in the doctor's office because I was not. And that is where I look back on the old me and do feel a lot of compassion for, because I did not know.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's wonderful that we can look back and have compassion for our younger selves who are, maybe misinformed or just don't know. Can I just say that I am someone who's had a lot of just weird physical ailments and stuff in my life. Mm-hmm. And I'll straight up just do research and I'm informed. I'll just do this research. I'll read these books. I'm prepared to go to the doctors. And then when I get into the doctor's office, mm-hmm. it's like a blank slate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Everything leaves your head, right?
Yeah. And why do you think that is?
Well, I definitely think it's a power dynamic. I think that, again, we've been taught that this is the person that knows more than us. He went to school for 20 years or however long. Not that long, but it feels like that, I'm sure. And so there's that power dynamic of this person knows more than I do. And I think we also are very aware of not wanting to be our own Google doctor, because we know that doctors hate that.
Yeah.
So I think that we also, as empaths and people that have empathy, we also want to be respectful of this person who knows a lot. But I also think I don't like to villainize doctors ever, but I do think that, especially in the endo space, there is so much misinformation from the top. We're talking with the American College of Gynecology, that we have to speak up in the doctor's office. I share in the book, I asked to get an ultrasound for 5 years, and 3 doctors denied me an ultrasound because they said, if you're not in pain, you don't need an ultrasound. And after 3 doctors, I'm like, oh man, I'm just being a little high maintenance. And then I ended up having that giant 10 centimeter cyst that burst, and I had to have an emergency surgery. And I will never let that happen again. So now every time I go into the doctor's office, a new OBGYN, one of the first things I say is, I need to get an ultrasound every 6 months. And if you're not okay with that, then I can just leave, or you can refer me to another doctor, because I won't let that happen to me again.
Good.
So I think that we can, I think that we can have a couple of things that we're prepared for, right? Like, I mean, I don't think we should say, I looked on this girl's blog and it says that this and this and this. I think that we can bring research, we can bring a study, we can bring our own knowledge of our bodies, of what has happened to us prior, and say, this is what I need.
Yeah, and that's really what it's about. It's about, us being our best advocates in the way that we can and have capacity for. And I'm just kind of blown away that you asking for an ultrasound and them saying no. That seems like I'm having trouble believing that happened. That's wild.
Well, I mean, yeah, it happened with 3 different doctors, because they said, you feel fine. You feel good. They're like, are you in pain? No. Felt around on my stomach. Everything feels great. You don't need it. And I think, as a patient, you're like, oh, if my doctor doesn't think I need this, I just wanted to get one because I had a history of cysts. I mean, it's the same way that I told a friend of mine how many people with endo are told to get pregnant as a treatment for endo.
Right.
She didn't believe me. She's like, that does not sound real. And so I showed her how I posted about it on Instagram, and the amount of comments from people that said, that happened to me, that happened to me, that happened to me since I was 17 years old. It is real. I mean, it is, the way that endo patients are treated is absolutely unbelievable at times.
And help me understand why that is, because is it because there are, as you mentioned at the top, there are symptoms that, could be pointed to something else. A lot of it is maybe just under the surface, maybe, the silent pain that you talked about.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's so many issues, and, the average diagnosis time for endo is 10 years and 8 doctors. That is the average. And I think we can look at it a couple different ways. One, historically, women's pain is not believed. 2, we talked about the symptoms, how so many of them are not connected to period pain or, excuse me, or something that you would think that you would talk about to your OBGYN. And then I think the third is that it requires a laparoscopic surgery with the biopsy. It's not something you can get a blood test done. It's not something that you can find on a scan. It requires a surgery. And I think that, a lot of doctors are cautious of that. And I do think they should be cautious, but I think that 10 years and 8 doctors, that's not just being cautious. Something else is going on here.
Yeah. It's fucked up.
Thank you.
Well, it feels like there's like a financial consideration or something.
Well, but even, I mean, and that's, oh my gosh, the financial burden of endo, I'm talking about people getting a laparoscopic surgery. Like, my laparoscopic surgery was covered by my insurance. There's a lot of people that don't even have insurance, right? My last endo surgery, because it was an excision surgery, which is not covered by insurance. There's 2 types of endo surgeries. One is covered by insurance. The other is not. And it was $20,000. I had to borrow money from my family. Like, I don't have an extra $20,000, and I had the luxury to borrow money from my family.
Yeah.
I'm still paying it back. And so I think when we talk about why it takes so long to get diagnosed, I think there's so many factors, but I think so much of it is, and this is why I wanted to write the book, is really understanding your condition so you can feel more empowered to say, I need to have this surgery done to be diagnosed. I think I have this.
Yeah. Yeah. I hope the book, and I think it will, sort of inspire a revolution of sorts of humans, really being their best advocates and being curious and standing up for themselves and not allowing for spaces that don't see them and make them feel unsafe in their pain.
Yeah. And when you mention the word pain, I mean, 50% of cases of unexplained infertility is due to endometriosis. So there are so many people that have never had painful periods. And so they didn't think they had endo because their doctor said, well, if you don't have painful periods, you don't have endo. And then they try to have a baby and they're unable to. And then they get diagnosed with endo. So early diagnosis is so critical for people that potentially want to have kids. And I mean, yes, a lot of people with endo have kids and it's not an issue, but it is an issue for a lot of people. And if maybe potentially they got an earlier diagnosis, they could have planned for their fertility, freezing their eggs, or just planned. And I feel so much for people that get diagnosed while going through fertility treatments, because I feel like it has to feel like a double trauma for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you said in the book, and as previous mentioned guest Lara Parker mentions, like, you mentioned that there are oftentimes like comorbidity in endometriosis and maybe vaginismus and vulvania or
Vulvodynia. Good
vulvodynia.
job.
Thank you.
Yeah, vulvodynia.
And someone like Lara Parker, and she talked about it on the podcast, like penetrative sex, she can't have, right? So, there's that whole sort of complexity in the mix. And then adding to that, like the whole sort of pressure for women, period, to have kids and be women, and that whole drive, there's so much wrapped up in that.
Yeah. And what about the mental health impact of a doctor telling you to get pregnant as a treatment for endo and you don't actually want to have kids? I mean, I think we just always assume too that women want to have kids or want to give birth. I personally never wanted pregnancy for my body. Like, I knew that I wanted to create my family in a different way. So when I'm being told you should get pregnant, and that feels very confusing.
Yeah. Well, it feels like someone is putting their own values on you.
Yeah, because a baby as a treatment? like it's not like get a new coat that you can potentially give away at Goodwill if you don't want it. I mean, a baby.
This is a person, a human being
that you have to feed and pay for and care for. I mean, it's so lunacy to me.
Yeah, it is. One of the aspects of your book I found very touching was the period. The I keep saying period, which maybe is the right word here in this conversation. The period of time where you talked about your relationship with your sister and the closeness that came in sort of your shared pain. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because it was very beautiful.
Thanks. I just welled up. I actually just read my audiobook, and that was probably the part that I had the hardest getting through without crying. Yeah, my sister and I, Alyssa, we did not get along at all. I mean, couldn't even be in the same room together. And I describe in the book that I think there was a lot of jealousy issues. I mean, I had a lot of friends and got good grades, but she was an athlete. I was chubby. She was thin. Like, we were very polar opposites too. And we didn't get along. And this wasn't until my 30s, actually, that I found out that she got diagnosed with endo through my mom. We weren't even really talking enough for me to know that. And when I started changing my diet and lifestyle, she had started doing that too. Her husband is just amazing and investigates and looks into things, and he was helping her with that. And so we started connecting more. And there was this moment that I write about in the book where we were planning a Thanksgiving together. It was our first Thanksgiving with our new diets, and we knew that we wouldn't really be able to eat anything at the Thanksgiving. So we're like, oh, what can we make? And at the end of the call, Alyssa said, this, I was going, she said, I feel like this is our first Thanksgiving as sisters.
Mm.
And I just, and it felt like we were truly not just sisters. I mean, you can have a sister you don't get along with, but we were friends. And it was just this, since then, and just doing the research that I've done for this book and just talking with her, we were both in so much pain that our personalities were different. And we didn't even really know how to communicate with each other. And I think it's the combination of this shared interest in wanting to feel good and then also just not being in pain and then also being able to reflect now and all the things we did have in common back then.
Yeah.
And I as much as Endo can be a bitch, I am actually grateful for it for a lot of things. And one of those things is how close I am to my sister now.
It's so beautiful. And I'm so grateful you had that moment with your sister. And of course it doesn't always happen. It doesn't need to happen, listeners, but like that's empathy. Like that's a moment of like, you have these shared experiences. You guys are being mirrors for each other. You're allowing for that vulnerability in your own experiences. And you're saying, oh, I'm not eating this too. And I'm feeling this way. And like, it's such a beautiful human moment.
Yeah. And I think too, writing this book and also just understanding now what my mom was going through, like her being late a lot to pick me up from school, her bleeding through her pants. Like I write about in the book that every time she walked through the door, she would unbutton her pants. And I just thought that's what moms did at the end of the day is they unbutton their pants because their tummy was so bloated. I just see my mom now in such a different way. Like, I don't know how she did it. I don't know how she had this undiagnosed, brutal condition that had really zero awareness when she was a younger woman with 4 kids and doing it on her own. Like, I just, the empathy I have for her now is just off the charts.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's such a, I mean, that's what these types of experiences, not that we have to go through, suffering to, find paths for empathy or connection or reflection, but they certainly can help, right? They certainly can humble us and, maybe reduce our sort of, ego a little bit and allow us to just take a step back and look through the world with a different perspective. Look at your mother and say, oh, wow, like I never knew. And that's such a moment of empathy and compassion that can be so connecting.
Yeah, it is. And it's, I had somebody say to me once, made some sort of joke, but sort of wasn't joking about how I've been able to get my book deals because I have, a condition and kind of, I forget exactly what she said, but something like, wow, I wish I had. I'm like, no, you don't. Like, yes, yes, this moment of clarity with my mom and my sister happened because I had this. And yes, I've gotten book deals because this is what I write about. But no, you don't wish that you had this. I think a lot of times too, we see online what it looks like on the other side or what it looks like. I don't post pictures of myself when I'm super fatigued and curled up in bed. Like, I don't post those. So I think sometimes, as much as we can extend empathy to the people that we see are in pain, we also don't know what other people are going through.
That's the lesson, right? Yeah. And there has been, I think recently a little bit of glamorization of victimhood and it being maybe used in ways that aren't coming from an authentic place, that aren't coming from a place of like, hey, I'm being vulnerable here and sharing because I I want to allow you to connect and to maybe heal yourself and to maybe, take this information into your own communities, not for attention or anything like that, but it happens. Like it's like anything, these things, these pure truths and beauties can be perverted.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I mean, I'm very, very familiar with some people online that I know that in real life, it is a very different story than the one they present online.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And I really do my best to not do that.
Yeah. So when you got diagnosed, were you with your current partner at that point?
Oh my gosh. That's such a good question. Well, actually, I remember this moment so well when I wasn't diagnosed yet, but I had to get a first ultrasound done because they thought maybe I had endo. And it literally is like some sort of from a movie. My husband could not come to the appointment because at that point we were like 20 something and he was working like 3 jobs or something. But I just remember I was coming down the elevator with tears streaming down my face and the elevator door opens and he was standing there. I was like,
Aww.
oh, it's just like I remember that visual so well. But yeah, he, when they did my diagnostic surgery, I just went in for like an outpatient surgery and they went in there and it was so bad that they had to cut me from hip to hip and they had to like get his approval to do that so I woke up thinking I was in an outpatient procedure, waking up with essentially a C-section, recovering in the maternity ward, and my husband standing there and saying, "You have endometriosis." And I didn't know what that was. And I just remember so well my mom calling me at the hospital on the hospital phone. And I was like, yeah, I was on morphine. And I was like, yeah, I'll be back to work like tomorrow. She's like, no, you're not.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to be home for at least a couple of weeks to heal. So even in that moment, I was like, I got this. Cause I think you get so good when you're in chronic pain, you get so good at not stopping.
It's a compartmentalization survival thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So Dan has just been the most supportive partner ever. And I think because I know how it can feel, I think that's why I feel so sad a lot of times when I get those messages from people that don't have someone that supports them.
Yeah, it is sad. And that's why I was curious to see like when Dan came into the picture, because I was curious about how your own endometriosis has impacted your relationship.
Yeah. And I've been married for a very long time. I've been with him for almost 20 years now.
Wow.
And so he's always been there. And I remember, I don't think I've ever shared this story before, but I remember the first couple of weeks we were dating, he was just so incredible that I actually tried to break up with him. I remember it so I was like, I am a hot mess and you will soon discover this. So I just think it's best if we just end this now.
You told him that?
Yes. And clearly he stuck around. But yeah, I remember that conversation so clearly because it's like, I am a mess. And I didn't know I had endo at that point. I just knew that I was in pain a lot. I had very bad body dysmorphia. I had, family things going on. And I just knew that it would probably end eventually. The jig would be up. Is that the phrase? And he would just not want to be with someone that was as messy as me.
What did he say?
He said that he really liked me and, he doesn't really care. He's just, I just remember, and this is what an angel he is. And on our very, very first date ever, I was in so much pain from my period. And I just said, hey, I started my period. I'm in a lot of pain. I can't come out. I can't go out with you. And this is before like Uber Eats or even cell phones or anything like that. And about an hour later, he showed up at my door with like every single menu in our college town. And he said, you pick whatever you want and I'll bring it to you. And I just knew then, I'm like, this person doesn't care that I'm quote unquote a mess.
Yeah. What a sweetie.
I know he really is. I feel like you guys would get along.
I love that. And that is, I come back to this endlessly on this show. That is the gift we can give each other, is allowing people to be where they are and where they need to be, and meeting them there. That is it, right? And that takes work, that takes patience, that takes listening, that takes empathy, that takes getting us out of our comfort zone at times. But it is, when you're feeling seen in that way, it is everything.
Yeah. And I hope and wish that I would be the same way. But I don't know what I would do if I had someone that was in chronic pain all the time. And, a person that I interviewed for my book, Greg, who's just another amazing person, he said that when he cares for his wife who has endo, he said it's not necessarily, it's not necessarily helping, the fatigue of helping all the time. It's knowing when to help.
Yep.
Because I think there's times when I don't want anyone near me. Whereas there's other times I'm like, could you please just bring me some dinner? And I think sometimes we need to check in too of when your person needs help, because maybe they don't want it all the time. And maybe they have a very hard time accepting it too.
Yes. It's such a crucial point. I love that moment with Greg because, he says knowing when to help and when not to help.
Yes.
Yeah. It's so true. That takes practice, right? That takes listening. That takes like being aware of your person's, body and movements and moods and all of that. And that takes practice like anything. And I think like being there for people who have chronic illness or mental health issues, it's not like, like I am that person. I am the endo person in my relationship, right? And my Jessica, she knows when to step back. She knows when I am like deep in depression, that like her being around me, trying to like care for me or whatever, is not going to do it, and that just takes time to figure that out.
Yeah. And it's amazing that she is confident too, to know that it doesn't have to do with her in that moment.
Yes. It's not a rejection.
It's not a rejection because, thankfully Dan knows, one of my most favorite things to do in life is to be alone, to go. I haven't been able to do this in a long time, but to go to a movie alone, to go out to dinner by myself. Like I need alone time to recharge.
Yes.
And he doesn't take offense to that. It's not rejection. This is maybe sad or cool, but on my birthdays and on Mother's Day, he plans a day for me that's alone. And then we meet up for dinner because I want to be alone.
I hear you. You're speaking my language.
and when we get together, we have so much fun. And whereas he, sometimes I'll say, I just spent all this time alone, and he's like, no, I don't need that the same way that you do.
Yes.
So it's kind of cool to know that we each have our own ways of recharging.
Yes. But like kudos to you for knowing what you need.
Yes.
Right? Like a lot of us don't. Because, especially us very sensitive, feely people, we get wrapped up in the needs of others, and then we confuse them with our own needs and our own wants and what fills us up, right?
I will say I also do that a lot. And I think,
Sure.
I think
Yeah, I do too. It's hard.
like, I remember a couple weeks ago, one of my friends was having a really big problem connecting her Squarespace website to her newsletter.
Mm.
And I spent 2 hours figuring it out for her. And it felt
Zapier?
like, what'd you say?
Did you use Zapier?
No, it was just it was some weird glitch that she did where she didn't check something off. And I went on all these message boards and I figured it out. But afterwards, and she was so grateful, but then I had to stay up like 2 hours later to do my work. You know what I mean? And I'm like,
Yep.
I'm fine with that. But sometimes I definitely put other people's projects and needs before mine. But then I guess I'm also really good at then the next day being like, I need to be alone.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
But
like
take
a
practice.
responsive or a reflective or rebounding boundaries or whatever.
Yes.
Yeah. How are you with boundaries?
I mean, I don't know. And emotional ones?
Yeah, we can go with emotional.
Because I think that I've broken up with 2 friends in my life who I felt like it was not a reciprocal relationship. And I felt like, I don't know, I felt like the boundaries were weird. And I don't know, with boundaries, like, I don't know, like on my podcast, sometimes I just ask inappropriate questions. So maybe I don't always know boundaries, but I don't know. I don't know if I'm good with boundaries. That's a good question.
It's hard to know.
Are you?
I would say I am much better than I was a few years ago.
So what's an example of your before and after?
Great question. I'll tell you, I'll be very honest. Like I've been dealing with an emotional boundary around, so I don't have a relationship with my father. He was very abusive.
Mm-hmm.
And my mother, I'm working on an emotional boundary with her and what that looks like. So right now I'm at a place where she doesn't see me or accept me. She thinks the work I'm doing is bad. She's weaponized it against me. And so I don't believe that's something that I deserve. And so I'm telling myself, right, that like, okay, there's a boundary here. I don't have to like go to her face, right, and say, I'm creating a boundary, right? Like that would only bring more sort of vitriol toward my way. So, but a couple of years ago, even telling myself that I'm creating this emotional boundary, like I would have want to like, but she has to know, like she has to understand. Why can't she get this work I'm doing as a positive force in the world? Why can't she get it? And now I'm saying, well, I don't think she has that capacity, and that's okay.
Yeah. Okay. If those are the examples, I definitely think that I've gotten better with those.
Good.
And I won't say that I ghost people because I don't have that in me to just not reply to someone. But I will definitely, instead of want to hang out, can I pick your brain? I'll say, I'm kind of busy this week. Could we hop on a call for 20 minutes next week? As opposed to like a 3-hour lunch that I don't actually want to go to because you're going to drain all of my energy.
Yes.
I don't say that, but you know what I mean? It's like,
that's a great example.
Yeah. So I think I've been kind of tapping into alternatives as opposed to just cutting people off because I have a very hard time doing that. But yeah, I think that mom example is perfect. It's a great example of, I just finished reading this book and I forget the exact quote, but she just said, you have to give up this need of understanding everyone because we're not going to be able to understand why your mom thinks the way she does about your podcast or the work you're doing. So let's just like take that off the table.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. And that's such a perfect example and such a, I think, relatable one, the email and the connecting and like and pushing it down. moving the needle a little further, like pushing it down the line a little bit and making it in smaller chunks, right? And that's honoring your own time and honoring your own energy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I used to do those pick your brain lunch and coffees, like multiple ones a week. And I'm like, not that I feel like I need to get something from everything I do, but when you don't receive a thank you note after, or it's just like, why did I just do that?
Yeah.
Like, I just exhausted all of my energy on this when that person isn't even grateful for it, it seems like.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's like, those are the reflections that we need to do in any sort of experience we have, is like, why am I doing this? Like, what is the purpose? Like, what is it for? And always be checking in on that stuff. And the thing that, like, I think we get caught up in is like, maybe you don't, but I do. And I'm wondering if you can maybe relate, is like, I'm this person. And that's the narrative we start telling ourselves. And we like make no space for like change. Like, of course people change. I'm cycling out of that period of my life, and that's okay. Or maybe I'm tempering it, or maybe it looks different now.
Yeah. I mean, dude, I cannot believe that I even own a foam roller or like a mini trampoline, or that I eat cashew cheese. I mean, I'm not kidding you. 10 years into all these changes that I have made, I'm still shocked at what is in my grocery cart. Like it's, even if you're living the change, it's hard sometimes for your own self to accept it, or just be like, wow, this is who I am now.
Yeah.
And that's good.
That's wonderful. What is like your go-to grocery store for like endo food needs?
Well, I would like to say the farmer's market, but that has not been happening. I definitely go to Whole Foods a lot.
Yeah.
I definitely go to Harris Teeter sometimes. I mean, the farmer's market used to be my most favorite place in the world. It's just not happening right now.
Yeah.
And I mean, it stinks because it is such a luxury and privilege to go to Whole Foods. But I also know that I don't have to go to 5 grocery stores to get everything I need.
Yeah.
Which I'm like, okay, so I'm going to spend maybe $10, $15 more here. But then I saved a lot of time and pollution and everything else. So maybe it's worth I just go here. Because when I first changed my diet, I refused to go to Whole Foods. I refused to. I would get so mad when my husband would say, let's go to Whole Foods. I'm like, I'm not paying those extra price. But now I just am like, it is kind of nice and a little bit more convenient to do that.
Yeah. I mean, everything's a trade-off. And
yes,
I don't have a Whole Foods near me, but I wish I did, because a lot of the stuff that you're talking about, I'm a Trader Joe's diehard, and they have a lot of good stuff. But I wish they had a little bit more vegan friendly stuff sometimes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And I like Trader Joe's sometimes too, but if I know that I need some nutritional yeast, although I think they might have that now too.
I don't think they do. I have to go to Sprouts usually for the stuff like that.
Okay. Well, Trader Joe's, one of the last times I went, like before lockdown, they had a little tiny bag of it.
Oh,
and
nice.
I was in shock that they had it. And obviously it was like way expensive because it was a tiny bag that I'm sure not a lot of people buy there. But they do have it there. And I do get a lot of some of my vegan products. There's like fakemeats.com or some weird websites.
Fakemeats.com.
There is one called fakemeats.com.
That's
I will tell you,
hilarious.
because my Dan loves a lot of fake meat things. I'm not a huge fan of fake meat. So his last birthday, I ordered like $50 worth of fakemeats.com.
One more fun question, and then we'll get into the book real quick.
Okay.
What was your the last best meal you've had?
Oh my gosh. Okay. There's a new vegan restaurant in Charleston. I mean, it's been open for a year. It still feels new to me. And one of my most favorite meals on earth is a vegan Caesar salad. There is
Okay.
something about it that whenever I go to a restaurant and they have a vegan Caesar on the menu, I get it. And so I forget we do a lot of celebrations in our house. Even if it's a Wednesday, we're like, it's a celebration night. So we were celebrating something and we got the big vegan Caesar. And then they have this truffle, arugula, 3 mushroom vegan pizza. And that was like one of the best meals ever.
Wow. It sounds amazing.
Yes.
How do they approximate like the sort of anchovy element of the Caesar?
They don't really.
Gotcha,
But the dressing is very tangy, which I think helps. And they have these big chunks of sun-dried tomatoes, which kind of gives it that umami-ness too. And they have a vegan Parmesan. It's in it. It's just, I just love crisp romaine. I just love vegan Caesars. I can't explain why.
I love it. I mean, I'm into them. I mean, how can you not? I mean, I do love a crisp, like crunchy lettuce, at times. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And usually a lot of times at restaurants that, are just a restaurant and it has a salad on the menu, it's like some shredded carrots, some weak, gross tomatoes, and some iceberg. It's like, I just want a glorious salad. And that's usually what vegan Caesars are.
Love it. So know your endo. How is your family responding to you writing this book and it coming out into the world?
Well, you should know that they haven't read it. You've read it before them. So I hope they like it. I think my mom sent me a text yesterday that just how proud she was of me and how much I'm helping people. And, I remember the conversation I had with my dad when I wanted to change from graphic design. And when I owned my stationery business, I wanted to end that. And I wanted to get certified in plant-based nutrition, which it was basically a certificate. I can't help actually patients or something. But I told him I wanted to do that. I wanted to start this restaurant program. And I just remember thinking he's going to say this is a terrible idea. And he was so excited about it because I think my family has always said, and this is not like a flex or something, but I love teaching so much. And I think that they've always known that I want to teach in some way. And I feel like these books are in some way teaching.
Absolutely.
And so, and I think too, like I said, I always am trying new things. So I think it's it's another thing that Jessica did.
Well,
which I think I used to look at as being a bad thing, that I kind of went from project to project. Now I think it's kind of fun.
It is fun. If it serves you and fills your heart, it's worth doing, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think when my family reads the book, I think they might be surprised too, because again, I think I hid a lot of this stuff from my family.
Yeah. Yeah. And so for the listeners, the book is it's part memoir of sorts, right? It's part you sharing your story. And then it's a lot of just really good foundational information about endometriosis and what it's about and the symptoms and tools for managing it. And there's recipes and it's very in-depth in that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I and there's definitely some worksheets. That was really important to me too, because when you start making changes, or even when you just start to connect the fatigue that we talked about earlier, I'm not lazy. This is a symptom of my endo. When you start realizing those things, a lot of emotions flood to the surface. So there's also a lot of places writing prompts and things for people to get some things out of their system too. Because I think it's so funny. Yesterday, when I did talk to my mom, I told her, because she was asking about the book, and I said, I think that you might want to book some therapy appointments or go back to your therapist after you read this book, because I think that she might have some trauma from reading it, because she went for so long undiagnosed. And I think it's going to affect her.
Yeah, that may be.
Because she doesn't really know a lot about endo, and she doesn't really know about how it can limit your career and it affects your relationship. And my mom really struggled with mental health a lot. And I think it's going to connect a lot of dots for her. And I think she's going to feel it maybe kind of hard.
Yeah. I mean, often when we are in sort of enlightened to, what we may have, right. Or what we may experience, like it's an overwhelming feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And it's
especially
hard,
when you don't feel like you were believed for decades.
Yeah.
I mean, I interviewed the woman Lynette in my book that wasn't diagnosed with her endo until she was 53 years old.
Right. Wow. It's
and that was very traumatic for her.
Yeah, understandably so. Like, do you feel like, I mean, you get into this a little bit, but like, do you feel like we are making progress in sort of endo awareness, endo treatment, endo health?
Oh my gosh. I feel like as much as the book is about how much we need to do, we have made so much progress. Just yesterday, I will maybe cry about this, but my friends Kyla and April, Christina and Lauren, who run the organization, and Samantha, who run the organization called Endo Black, there are still very, very big, credible hospital websites, and I'm talking about the biggest ones, that say on their websites that white women are more prone to getting endo than other women. That is not true. There is absolutely zero evidence to support that. So they have been ticking off hospital by hospital to get this changed. And just yesterday, they took it to social media, they tagged the hospitals, and then they rallied a bunch of people in the endo community. And 5 hours later, it was off of their website.
Wow.
And and I'm talking about one of the biggest hospitals in the country. And so to see that type of change happening, for misinformation to finally be taken down off of websites, because as a person of color, if you see that white women are more prone to getting endometriosis, why would you explore it more? Oh, I guess I don't have this then.
Yeah.
I mean, it delays the time a lot for women of color to get diagnosed. So I do think there's progress. Like that example alone, it might seem small to take that off of a website, but that's huge for someone to potentially get diagnosed.
Wow. Yeah, that's amazing. And it's no surprise that there is, I mean, that's misinformation and maybe just the systemic racism that we live in, right?
Yeah, and so I don't know. I think writing about it was definitely hard. And I even say this in the book. I mean, there was definitely parts when I wrap this up with the bow and everything's getting better. We definitely still have so much work to do. But just talking to my friend April Christina yesterday, she said, a lot of the work that I'm going to be doing, people might not see. I might not in my lifetime see the results of that, but she is committed to making sure future generations will never be treated the same way that she has been treated.
Wow. It's powerful.
So there is progress. There needs to be a lot more, but I think knowing symptoms, you having me on your podcast, you having Lara, being able to talk about this stuff, that's a lot of progress, I think.
Good. And your book, which is out April 27th?
Yes.
Excellent. And so I think this episode will be out Monday. So yeah, the book's out tomorrow, you guys. Order it. Pick it up. there are, as we talked about at the top, listeners, even if you don't have endometriosis, there is someone in your life who does. And on top of that, it is an exercise in empathy to read the experiences of others that you may not share.
Yes, thank you so much. And I hope that, the book is not just a medical book. I mean, there's stories in there that I think are happy and sad and compelling. And then I also think whether you have endo or not, the management tools can apply to every single person's life.
Totally agree. Yeah, totally agree. So let's start wrapping it up. We always talk about empathy heroes, Jessica, on this show. This is the part of the show where we mention someone in our lives, or they could even be characters from our favorite TV shows or stories, what have you, just people who are deeply empathetic. I'll go first to give you a second to think about yours. My empathy hero this week is Esme Wang. She is the author of The Collected Schizophrenias, a brilliant book. She's written another book, and I'm forgetting the name of it, but The Collected Schizophrenias is the one that I read. She's been on the show, and she just launched a new writing and resilience community called Unexpected Shape. And I haven't joined, but it looks amazing, and I just wanted to plug Esme because she is a wonderful writer and human and is doing wonderful work in the world and creating safe spaces for people like you. So check out Esme Wing and her Unexpected Shape community. I'll make sure to link that in the show notes.
Okay, great. Well, I want to give someone, but then people, it's like, okay, I'll do two quick ones.
Sure.
One, my friend Allie, who you won't be able to find on the internet, but I have stayed at her apartment in New York with cysts that have burst. When I was having a difficult time a few weeks ago, she sent me like a giant case of Spindrift. She was like, I know you're having some gut issues, but you can at least drink this fizzy water that's delicious. So I just feel like Allie is one of them. In terms of professionally, that people could maybe go check out their book. I don't know if you've ever spoken to Dr. Elizabeth Stanley, but she wrote the book Widen the Window. And it is a book about being able to survive from stress and trauma, and is the best book that I've ever read on stress and trauma. And I just feel like with her work, it's just true empathy to have gone through what she has gone through and then to take that and to help others. I interviewed her for my book multiple times. I've had her on my podcast multiple times. I just think that her work is so incredible. And, a lot of her work too, just one more thing about it, is a lot of people that have been through a lot of traumatic experiences or have been through chronic stress without relief of it. Meditation isn't always the best thing for them, like a traditional breath-based meditation, and it actually can increase or escalate your anxiety. So she really works with a lot of people that have been through significant stress and trauma to teach them how to have other forms of helping that without doing meditation. Because I think it's so dangerous sometimes. We're like, meditate. And then someone that's been through a lot of stress and trauma feels worse after they meditate.
Sure.
And then they start judging themselves more. So Dr. Elizabeth Stanley.
She sounds amazing. No, I haven't had her on the show, but I'll look her up for sure.
Yeah. Widen the Window. It's like Harry Potter length.
Okay.
Like, so worth it.
Yeah. I'll add it to my list. I love books, as we mentioned. Well, Jessica, where can people connect with you? Obviously, order the book and all of that lovely stuff.
You can go to knowyourendo.com/book. And I have tons of places that you can pre-order it. There's actually an option to get a signed copy from my local bookstore here in Charleston, which has been very cool to see people doing that. And then you can find me on Instagram at knowyourendo. And then also my website, jessicamurnane.com. is there too. And my podcast, One Part Podcast. I'm sure you'll put all these links in the show notes.
I will. Of course I will. Well, Jessica, that was so lovely. I'm so grateful you wrote Know Your Endo and grateful for the work you're doing. You're creating a space for people to be seen and heard and empowered, and it's wonderful.
And same to you. You know that, right?
I'm working on it. I'm trying every day. Okay. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, to you listeners, as I always say, I'm here, you're here, we're here together on this wayward, overwhelming, awe-inspiring, pale blue dot. We have each other. It's you, me, empathy.